So, here's a statistic for you. If you like statistics, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It made me laugh. It made me laugh. You've got to have gallows humour as a West Ham fan, and I hope nobody's really offended by this video. It certainly is not my intention, but I'm just trying to have a bit of a laugh, really, because I've got to say, the whole Jhon Duran situation is quite ridiculous, and you've got to have that gallows humour. You've got to laugh, otherwise you're just going to cry. It's ridiculous. So here's a stat for you. West Ham seriously bid for 2 strikers in the summer transfer window, and that is obviously Jhon Duran and Niclas Füllkrug. The one we didn't get has scored more goals at the London Stadium than the one we did get. That's not great, is it? Look, this all looks far worse off the back of yesterday's announcement, leak or whatever, that Füllkrug is going to be out injured for an extended period of time. It actually does look like the initial... What happened was the initial diagnosis was he's probably going to be out for 5 or 6 weeks. That's when he got injured during training. He scored against Hungary, got injured during training a couple of days or a day or two later, and then it said that 5-6 weeks, and then somebody said, oh, actually, no, it might not be that bad. He might be back for the next game. So it might only be a few days out. Turns out that the original diagnosis was absolutely correct. The fact that we've bought this player, he's not started a Premier League game for West Ham yet. The game he did start against Bournemouth, didn't he? We weren't very good. We won. We weren't very good. He got hiked off, and a couple of times we've seen him as a substitute. He's basically been played. He's found himself very, very close to Thomas Souček, where, you know, when players started to develop down the pitch. And it ain't a great look, is it, having a couple of Steamboat Willies playing. You want the big man and the little man, not the big man and the big man, so to speak. So anyway, that's that. It's not made it a particularly good look. Now, coupled with the fact that the striker we wanted our first choice, so if we can just, let's all be honest with each other here. Füllkrug was our second choice, right? Duran was our first choice. In fact, I think I even said at the time, I thought we were bidding with Füllkrug in an effort to make Aston Villa accept our £36 million bid or whatever it was. But we wanted Duran. For most of the transfer window, Aston Villa was saying we want £40 million. Now, I think what makes it worse at the moment is that £40 million starting to look like a bargain. I'll skim over the rest. If you don't know, you must have had your head in the sand during the summer. The deal was very, very close to being done. We were haggling over £3 to £5 million difference. He was confident. Duran was so confident the deal was going to be done. He started giving it all this on his Instagram page, and basically we didn't meet their £40 million valuation. I believe, and this is only me, I believe we started bidding for Füllkrug to get them to accept the 37 million or whatever it might have been, 35 million. It didn't work, and Aston Villa said, no, we're keeping him. Right, do one. We're sick of you lot wasting our time. We ended up buying Füllkrug, right? So Füllkrug is our second choice in this situation. And it doesn't help. People using this term a lot at the moment. It doesn't help the optics when the guy that we chose to get is not available. He can't play. Never mind, he hasn't scored a goal for West Ham. He's not available to play at the moment. That's not good. Whilst the other geezer is banging him in. I mean, really, really banging him in. £40 million should never be a bargain, but it looks like one at the moment. 4 goals in the Premier League, but that tells half the story. So the 4 goals in the Premier League is he's a substitute, basically. He was a substitute last night, by the way. So I was watching the Aston Villa Bayern Munich game, which is probably what's prompted this video as much as anything. And I've got to be honest, I found the game was a little bit boring. I was having a little WhatsApp conversation with Gio, and he was watching the same game. I said, you know what? I've had enough of this. This game is boring me. I think I'm a little bit jealous of Aston Villa as well. I've got nothing against them. They've done nothing wrong at all. And it's not that they've got Duran. I think when Moyes took over on his second stint, my dates might be wrong, but not by a lot. I think they were actually in the Championship. So what they've done is quite remarkable there. They're really, really quick with their decision making. Obviously got Steven Gerrard in, didn't work out. Got him out. Got Unai Emery in. The way they buy and sell players is really smart. They're very, very good at it, and they don't look out of place in the Champions League. And I think for me, they don't look out of place challenging for the top 4 either. And I think that, for me, is, as a West Ham fan, I get a little bit jealous about that, to be honest, because they're so slick and they're so good and they're so professional at what they do. Sometimes I look at us, and yeah, look, I would not give up that Conference League victory. You know, not for the world. And we're certainly trying to modernise with Tim Stuyton and everything else. And the academy's looking a whole lot better now, by the way. A lot more professional, with Mark Noble heavily involved in that. But I still get a little bit jealous. So anyway, I'm watching the telly last night. And I said to Gio, the game was boring me anyway. As what Harry Kane was jumping and diving around all over the place. And I said, you know what, I'm going to switch over. So I switched over and I watched Liverpool against Bologna. Mo Salah scored the most Mo Salah goal you've ever seen in your life, right? Imagine Mo Salah scoring a goal. Imagine him curling it in with his left foot. That's the goal he scored last night. Right, so anyway, as I was watching it, and a Gio message, WhatsApp, Duran scored again, capital letters, exclamation mark, all that type of stuff. Oh, my goodness. So I watched it. The clip of the goal came up on the TNT, I think it's TNT2. I was watching it on. The clip came up on that. Oh my goodness. It was a worldie. It was a world-class goal. It's not his first world-class goal this season. I mean, it's really bad. Basically, it's not really bad, it's really brilliant, but it's really bad if you're a West Ham fan. Because we mucked up. We really mucked up. And I was annoyed about it, but I did a little thing which made myself feel better, and I'm going to teach it to you, and you'll suddenly feel better about it, or worse. I don't know. You just look at it and you think, well, we mucked up. We could have had him. We could have had that player. We don't now. The chance is gone. He is over £100 million player. If Barcelona are sniffing around, apparently, wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise anyone now. Typical West Ham, right? No, it's not. So here's what typical West Ham is. So it's a parallel universe. You understand a parallel universe where everything the same exists, but things are slightly different. So there's a parallel universe somewhere where West Ham bid for Niclas Füllkrug. And Aston Villa thought, oh, hold on a second, they're serious here. All right, we accept your £37 million bid. Here he is. Go and take Jhon Duran. So we go and sign Jhon Duran. And then, but that's it. But in this parallel universe, he hasn't come on over to West Ham and scoring these goals. He's not scoring world-class goals. He's not looking like the hottest property in Europe. No. No, Jhon Duran in this parallel universe signs for West Ham and he's isolated up front. In fact, he's still playing a substitute. He substitutes to Mikel Antonio. He's isolated up front when he does come on. He's not scored a goal yet. And he's sometimes being used as a defensive left winger. Julian Lopetegui is saying, the press are saying, well, hold on, you just spent £37 million on this player. Why aren't you playing him? And Julian Lopetegui is saying that it's that the Premier League's too tough for him. He needs to get himself acclimatised. So he's not scored a goal yet. He's starting to get a little bit annoyed at playing second fiddle. And we're starting to look and thinking, we're not so sure he's as good as Danny Ings, this guy. And then we get to January and it's not worked out. So what we do is we end up selling him for £15 million to Real Betis. He goes to Real Betis. He becomes the best striker in Europe. They win the Conference League and he gets £150 million transfer to Real Madrid. That's what would happen. I'm quite certain of it. And I was going to say that made me feel a little bit better. But it, doesn't necessarily make me feel better. But I just do think it's easy to look, and I'm being flippant, obviously, I'm mucking around. Please don't anyone say in the comments that take that seriously. But I think the point I am trying to make, and this bit I am serious about, is that we wouldn't have got this version of him. It just wouldn't have been like this. It really wouldn't. I do believe West Ham would still have had a struggling team. I don't think it would have made all the difference and our team would have suddenly clicked into place. And, but it's... Maybe I'm wrong. I don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to justify missing out. I think we made a mistake by not signing him. But I just don't think... I think for him, he made... It wasn't really his decision, was it? But I think for Duran, it was probably the right decision. I looked at him there playing Champions League football with a club. It's hard to say at the moment West Ham are going forward. I think that would be, you'd have to be the ultimate optimist to say that. We don't look better at the moment. I think you look at Aston Villa, and they're a club. They're a club going forward. This might be their peak. Their peak might well be Champions League and competing in the Champions League. And it might not get any better, but that might just be their level. Our peak was obviously a couple of seasons ago. And I just think, I'm not so sure. But what it also does, it puts so much pressure on Füllkrug as well. And I feel sorry for the guy, because the guy could be a very decent striker for West Ham. But the longer it goes on, the worse it gets. Anyway, what a muck-up, though. Whilst I'm trying to make myself feel better, what a muck-up. What an error. But I'll leave you with one final piece of positive news on all this. And that is something, and I'm not being flippant now, I do genuinely mean this. Somebody at West Ham identified Duran and made him our prime summer transfer target alongside Max Kilman. And that's a good thing, because that means somebody at the club knows how to identify talent. We got a slight problem, which is nobody fully got behind whoever made the decision. And I don't know. It could have been Stite and it could have been Lopetegui. I just don't know. But somebody has done this, and I think that bodes really well. And I just hope whoever sort of pulled the plug on it or whatever happened has probably learnt the lesson and is probably looking at what Duran's doing now and going, whoops, you know, being a little bit sheepish, sort of, you know, hiding behind the sofa a little bit on that one, because I do think whoever identified him, it's made them look really good. And I think whoever's decided not to go all out and get this guy who was available, that's the point. I want to make that point. He was available. I think they're looking a little bit silly.